Imagine trying to force feed yourself, like a massive bottle of liquid pancake batter.
Oh, gross. No, thank you.
Right. But picture doing that while navigating this treacherous downhill rock garden on a bicycle at, I don't know, 25 miles per hour.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare.
It really does. But for today's elite off-road racers, consuming that kind of ultra-dense sludge under extreme physical duress isn't just a bad dream. It's actually the baseline requirement to survive.
It completely shatters our traditional understanding of sports science. I mean, we've spent decades focusing on the engine, the heart and lungs.
Right. The VO2 max and all that.
Exactly. But suddenly, the human stomach has become the ultimate frontier of high-performance engineering.
And we are going to get into the gritty biological mechanics of exactly how that works today. So, welcome to the Season 3 finale of our deep dive.
We made it to the end of the season.
We did. It is July 2026, and we are wrapping up an absolutely incredible season with you.
It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, and we've got a mountain of breaking news and analysis from across the cycling world this month. And just a quick note, while this is our season finale, definitely stay tuned because Season 4 is coming out very soon.
Very soon. We're already working on it.
We are. But for today, our mission is to synthesize a massive stack of sources for you. We're talking historic race results, cutting-edge tech patents, academic safety papers, and even the stark realities of federal transport budgets.
It is a lot of ground to cover.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this, starting at the absolute pinnacle of human performance. I'm talking about the July 2026 conclusions of the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia women.
We are basically watching the historic record books being rewritten in real time right now.
We really are.
But what's fascinating is how these writers are doing it. I mean, it's not just a matter of pedaling slightly harder anymore.
No, the margins are insane. Let's look at the men's side first. So, Tadej Pogacar just secured his 5th Tour de France victory.
5. Just unbelievable.
5. He officially joins the supposedly untouchable ranks of Jacques Anquetil, Eddy Merckx, Bernard Hinault, and Miguel Indurain.
Absolute legends of the sport.
Right, but the craziest part isn't just that he won. It's the margin. He beat Remco Evenepoel by 6 minutes and 26 seconds.
Which is just mathematically staggering.
Yeah, I mean, in an era where races are usually decided by a handful of seconds, a 6.5-minute gap is practically a lifetime.
It's a completely different zip code. And that dominance was spread across the whole peloton this year.
Oh, for sure.
You had Richard Carapaz securing the polka dot jersey with a massive 156 points. Plus, he took the Super Combativity Award.
He was attacking everything.
He really was. And then Mads Pedersen taking the green jersey by 82 points over Jasper Philipsen.
And then, we flip over to the Giro d'Italia women. Demi Vollering, riding for FDJ Suez, she took the overall win.
And she had to hold off a brutal challenge to do it.
Oh, yeah. Antonia Niedermeyer and Anna van der Breggen were right there. But Vollering pulled it off, and she is now only the second woman in the history of the sport to win all 3 Grand Tours.
That is just historic.
It is. And when I read through these sources, I just keep thinking of like video game speedrunners.
Speedrunners. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Those players who don't just play a game perfectly, but they fundamentally break the game's meta.
Right. Like they find a glitch to skip half the level.
Exactly. They find glitches and optimization levels that the developers didn't even know existed.
Oh.
So I have to ask you, are we in an era where these supposedly untouchable historical records are now just baseline expectations for riders like Pogacar and Vollering?
I mean, we definitely are, but breaking that physiological meta, like pushing your VO2 max and your watts per kilogram to the absolute limit, that isn't actually enough to win anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, when we analyze the data from this July, what becomes abundantly clear is that environmental adaptability is now the ultimate deciding factor. Nature was basically the final boss of both these races.
Oh, man. The environmental disruptions were wild this year.
They were unprecedented.
Like Stage 8 of the Giro had to be heavily shortened because of massive avalanche risks on the Col del Finestre.
Right.
And then the Tour de France. Stage 21 is usually this beautiful, sunny champagne procession into Paris.
Usually, yeah.
But this year, it had to be shortened due to severe wildfires. I mean, they did manage to keep the Montmartre loop where Mathieu van der Poel took the win, but still.
This is exactly where physiology meets climate reality. because you can have the most scientifically dialed-in training block in human history, right?
Carefully planned out.
But if you are suddenly racing through a valley that's thick with wildfire smoke, the particulate matter in the air fundamentally alters how your alveoli transfer oxygen into your bloodstream.
Wow, so you literally just can't get the oxygen you train for.
Exactly. Or, if a mountain stage is diverted due to an avalanche and it changes the altitude profile by thousands of feet at the last minute,
Your whole pacing strategy just goes right out the window.
completely. The modern champion has to metabolically and psychologically adapt to these sudden, chaotic shifts in the environment.
But, surviving an avalanche on a mountain pass or navigating a smoke-filled valley doesn't just come down to human willpower.
No, not at all.
A rider's resilience is entirely capped by the machinery they are sitting on. The technology beneath them has to evolve just as aggressively as the athletes themselves.
And this July, the equipment leap has been pretty extraordinary to see.
Definitely. We saw some incredible debuts at the Tour. Specialized rolled out the new Tarmac SL9.
Dropping the frame weight to 687 grams.
Yeah, which hits a 6.5 kilogram complete bike. It's incredibly light.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pirelli introduced their P0 Race TLR SLR tires.
Bryce saying that 5 times fast.
I know, right? They use this new PAA tech. And for those of you who don't spend your weekends reading tire compound schematics.
Which I assume is most of you.
Yeah, this new tech essentially changes how the rubber deforms on a microscopic level. It claims to save the rider 15 watts of energy.
Which is massive.
Over a 3-week race, 15 watts of saved energy is the difference between standing on the podium and completely cracking in the high mountain.
It really is.
But out of all the cutting-edge tech in our sources, the one that completely threw me for a loop was a newly published patent from SRAM.
Yes. The January 2025 patent publication for a completely mechanical, cable-actuated transmission derailleur.
Wait, hold on. I need you to explain this to me. Because we have perfectly seamless wireless electronic shifting right now.
We do.
Why on earth would SRAM engineers want us to go back to fiddling with steel cables?
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer irony of the situation.
Okay, lay it on me.
We have reached the absolute zenith of wireless drivetrain development. You click a button on the handlebars, and a tiny motor moves the chain perfectly every single time.
It's basically flawless.
Right. But to fix the issue of derailleurs breaking off when a rider crashes, the industry moved to these direct mount systems.
Where the derailleur bolts directly to the rear axle of the bike.
Exactly. But here's the problem. Setting up a direct mount mechanical derailleur is an absolute engineering nightmare.
Because you lose the adjustment points. Right. I saw our sources mention something called a B-gap.
Yes, the dreaded B-gap.
For those of us who aren't pro bike mechanics, what exactly is the B-gap and why is it so hard to set up with a cable?
So the B-gap is just the physical distance between the top pulley wheel of your derailleur and the cogs on your rear cassette.
Okay, makes sense.
If that gap is too close, the chain grinds against the gears. If it's too far away, the shifting is incredibly sloppy and slow.
Got it.
Now, with an electronic derailleur, the computer basically figures out the tension for you. But with a mechanical cable on a direct mount, you have to pull the cable tight with a pair of pliers while simultaneously trying to hold this heavily spring-loaded derailleur in the exact perfect position.
That sounds awful.
You practically need 3 hands to do it.
But this patent solves that, right?
Mhm.
The inventors, Heiko Redeker and Tobias Harke, who, by the way, are actually the exact same guys who engineered the universal derailleur hanger.
They're brilliant engineers.
They really are. They designed this unique hex key blocking mechanism.
Yeah, it's so clever.
You basically just insert a standard hex key into the derailleur, and it mechanically locks the whole thing in the perfect position while you tighten the cable.
It takes the guesswork completely out of it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of feels like vinyl records making a massive comeback in the age of Spotify.
That's a good way to look at it.
Like, we have access to this flawless digital tech, but there's this sudden craving for analog cables. I've got to push back on this a bit. Is this mechanical pivot just cycling nostalgia, or is there a genuine functional reason to ditch the battery?
It is 100% about utilitarian survival.
Survival.
Yeah, nostalgia doesn't win a 200-mile gravel race. Redeker and Harke understand that while electronic shifting is a luxury of precision, mechanical shifting is the ultimate safety net.
Because it can't just short out on you.
Exactly. Imagine you are 50 miles from civilization and a rock strikes your electronic derailleur, completely frying the circuit board.
Your race is instantly over. You're walking home.
You are. But a frayed steel cable, you can tie that off. You can fix that with a basic multi-tool on the side of the trail. It's about building an unkillable bicycle for riders who refuse to be dependent on a battery charge in the middle of nowhere.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And, if we really want to talk about utilitarian survival, we need to guide you off the smooth tarmac and into the dirt.
Let's do it.
Because the evolution of off-road gear for extreme conditions in 2026 is mind-blowing. Let's look at mountain biking first.
Okay.
The endless debate over wheel size is officially over, and the answer is massive.
Huge. We are seeing the impending dominance of 32-inch wheels for cross-country mountain biking.
32 inches. That's almost comical.
It sounds huge, but major suspension players like Manitou, Fox, and RockShox are fully backing it.
But the wheels aren't even the wildest part. It's what they are wrapping them in. Brands like Zlane and Schwalbe are rolling out these new radial tires.
Yeah, radial casing.
The source documents claim these radial casings are dropping rolling resistance by 40% and cutting weight by 25%.
Which is just a massive leap in tire tech.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
How does a tire fundamentally lose half its rolling resistance just by changing how it's woven?
It all comes down to the physics of the casing threads.
Okay, explain that.
In a traditional bicycle tire, the threads in the casing run diagonally, crisscrossing each other in layers.
Like a lattice pattern.
Exactly. This makes the tire stiff and durable, but in a radial tire, the threads run straight across from bead to bead, completely perpendicular to the direction of travel.
Wait, so they don't crisscross at all?
Nope, they run straight across.
So it changes how the tire absorbs an impact.
Precisely. When a radial tire hits a rock on the trail, the sidewall can flex vertically with almost no resistance. It acts like a microshock absorber, while the tread stays perfectly flat on the ground.
Oh.
It absorbs the trail chatter without bouncing the bike backward, which means you don't lose forward momentum. It is essentially free speed and free suspension wrapped into one.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And the gravel scene is taking this survival mentality just as seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially for the wet, brutal conditions we're seeing in the UK right now. Riders are running these heavy tubeless setups stuffed with dense foam inserts.
From companies like Cushcore and WTB.
Right. And they're doing this just to protect their rims from shattering on hidden rocks in the mud. Plus, they're pairing all that with Lauf Grit suspension forks.
It's full suspension on gravel bikes now.
It is. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the bike suspension that blew my mind in these sources.
Yeah.
It's the human fuel.
The nutrition data is terrifying.
It really is. We're looking at athletes like Matt Beers, who was recorded pushing 431 watts for 2 straight hours.
Just an unbelievable power output.
To survive that kind of effort, these ultra-endurance racers are now aiming to consume a staggering 120 to 140 grams of carbohydrates per hour.
Which, medically speaking, is bordering on the absurd.
Totally absurd.
For years, sports science firmly established that the human gut could only process about 90 grams of carbohydrates an hour at absolute max.
Right. If I try to eat 140 grams of carbs just sitting on my couch, I'm going to feel sick and bloated.
Oh, 100%.
Trying to force 140 grams of carbs into your stomach while pushing 400 watts on a bike? I can only compare that to trying to refuel a fighter jet while it is actively in a steep, evasive dive.
Yeah, that is a very apt analogy.
So when you're pushing that kind of power, your body diverts almost all of its blood flow to your leg muscles just to keep the engine running.
Right, which means there is practically zero blood left in your stomach to actually digest anything you swallow.
So it just sits there.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, ultra-endurance fueling is fundamentally an engineering problem now.
How so?
You are asking a blood-deprived stomach to rapidly digest super dense carbohydrate formulas that have the literal consistency of pancake batter.
Just thick, sugary sludge. So how are they getting around the 90-gram biological limit without just throwing up on the trail?
It comes down to hacking the body's transport pathways.
Wait, you can hack your gut?
Essentially, yeah. Your gut uses specific transporters like SGLT1 to absorb glucose, but those max out at about 60 to 90 grams, like we said.
Okay.
To get up to 140, these athletes are aggressively training their guts to upregulate secondary pathways, specifically the fructose transporters, which are known as GLUT5.
So they use a different chemical pathway.
Exactly. If they don't train those specific pathways over months, the excess carbs just sit in the gut, they ferment, they cause massive bloating, and the race is over. You're in a ditch.
Wow.
The athletes aren't just doing intervals for their legs anymore. They are actively training their gastric emptying rates.
Yeah.
The stomach really is the new aerodynamic frontier.
The new aerodynamic frontier is liquid pancake batter.
Yep.
Just imagine slamming down that sludge while navigating a rock garden. It really puts into perspective how elite these athletes actually are.
It takes a very special breed.
It does. But, we can sit here all day marveling at the controlled chaos of professional racing. The massive 32-inch wheels, the radial tires, the carb sludge.
Right.
But if you're listening to this on your commute right now, you might be thinking, well, I don't care if a tire saves me 15 watts.
And you'd be absolutely right to think that.
Because none of this incredible technology matters even a little bit if you aren't safe on the roads.
Safety has to come first. And when we dive into the sources on everyday rider safety, the data gets incredibly murky.
Especially when we start looking at how safety itself is actually measured by the industry.
It's a real eye-opener.
Our sources highlight a recent biomechanical study, which, by the way, is a preprint server for biology and health sciences. And it evaluated rotation mitigation technology in cycling helmets.
This is a huge topic right now.
They ran impacts across various locations on the helmet, using different physical head forms. But the massive takeaway from the GDAS, that's the German in-depth accident study and the robot cycle data, is that computational helmet rankings are heavily skewed by the specific injury metrics chosen by the researchers.
This is a vital point for anyone buying a helmet to understand.
Walk us through it.
When a head hits the pavement, you basically have two main forces at play.
Okay.
First, you have linear acceleration, which is your skull stopping suddenly and your brain physically hitting the inside of your skull.
Ouch.
And second, you have rotational velocity, which causes shear forces that literally twist and tear the axons deep in your brain tissue.
Which is terrifying. And the labs testing these helmets are basically just picking their favorite force to measure.
Precisely. If a lab heavily prioritizes linear acceleration in their mathematical injury metric, Helmet A might score a 5-star rating and look like an absolute lifesaver.
It looks perfect on the shelf.
But if another lab prioritizes rotational velocity in their math, suddenly Helmet B is the clear winner, and that 5-star Helmet A looks dangerously inadequate.
That's so wild.
The reality of a street crash is just infinitely more complex than a single isolated lab metric can capture.
It's genuinely terrifying to think that the 5-star safety rating printed on the shiny box you just bought might just be a reflection of the specific math equation the researchers preferred on that given day.
It's definitely something to consider.
But, helmet physics is only half of the safety equation. The helmet only really matters when things have already gone horribly wrong.
Right. The goal is not to get hit in the first place.
Exactly. We have to talk about the physical roads we are riding on, which brings us to federal infrastructure funding.
Because policy directly dictates the physical reality of our cities.
It does. And looking at the federal landscape in July 2026, we are seeing a major clash in transport philosophy. So according to the reporting, Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sent a letter on July 22nd, proposing the elimination of the Highway Trust Fund's mass transit account.
Just straight up eliminating it.
Yeah, and the explicitly stated goal of this proposal is to prioritize the building and expansion of interstate highways across the country.
To give you a sense of the sheer scale of that specific account, the draft House bill had authorized $87.6 billion in funding for fiscal years 2027 through 2031.
So we're talking about a massive amount of money.
Huge.
Right. And looking at the counter perspective, the American Public Transportation Association, or APTA, they issued a very stark warning regarding this proposal.
What was their take?
They stated that eliminating this specific account puts over 85% of all federal public transit and passenger rail funding at direct risk.
This raises an important question, regardless of where any individual stands politically on highway versus transit funding.
Which we aren't taking sides on here, just reporting the numbers.
Exactly. But it highlights that safety and mobility for cyclists and pedestrians isn't just a matter of personal responsibility. You can't just buy your way to safety with a highly rated rotation mitigating helmet.
You just can't.
Safety is a systemic issue. It's inextricably linked to how we as a society choose to build, fund, and maintain the environments we live in.
Let me throw an analogy at you to tie this all together.
Let's hear it.
Is helmet tech and road infrastructure, basically like the armor and the bridge for a medieval knight.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Like, you can spend millions of dollars engineering the absolute most advanced, lightweight, rotation-mitigating carbon fiber armor in the world.
Right, you're impenetrable.
But if the bridge you have to cross, which in this case is the federal funding for safe bike lanes, transit, and shared roads, if that bridge just vanishes beneath your feet, does the armor even matter?
No, it doesn't.
You are still falling into the moat.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. Because if the built environment fundamentally does not accommodate the bicycle safely, the marginal gains of a 15-watt faster tire, or even a theoretically safer helmet, they are completely nullified the moment you have to share space with a 2-ton vehicle moving at highway speeds.
It's terrifying when you put it like that.
The tech is only ever as good as the infrastructure that actually supports it.
Well, we have covered some serious, massive ground today.
We really have.
We started at the absolute zenith of human performance, watching Tadej Pogacar and Demi Vollering make history in the Grand Tours by battling not just the Peloton, but literal avalanches and wildfires.
Nature's final boss.
Exactly. We explored the mechanics of SRAM, building unkillable mechanical derailleurs with hex keys, how mountain bikes are revolutionizing traction with 32-inch wheels and radial tires.
And we can't forget the nutrition.
Oh, right. How gravel racers are tricking their own gut biology to absorb 140 grams of pancake batter an hour.
Still makes me slightly nauseous just thinking about it.
I'm never eating pancakes again. And finally, we brought it all the way down to the stark realities of how helmet safety is mathematically measured in labs and the billions of dollars hanging in the balance of federal transit budgets. So what does this all mean?
Well, it means we are at an incredibly fascinating inflection point as a society. And I'd leave you with this final thought to mull over, because our bicycles are becoming infinitely faster, exponentially more specialized, and mechanically capable of conquering virtually any terrain on Earth.
They really are marvels of engineering.
They are. But looking ahead, will the ultimate bottleneck for the future of cycling not be human biology and not be engineering, but simply the physical space and the political will to allow bikes to exist safely in our world?
Wow. That is a heavy but absolutely vital question to carry with us. Whether you are breaking records in the Alps, pushing through a 200-mile gravel race, or, just trying to navigate the murky, chaotic reality of your morning commute, the limits we push aren't always the ones we choose.
Very true.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive all season long that officially closes out Season 3, but keep an eye on your feed because Season 4 is coming your way very soon.
See you in Season 4.
Until then, keep pushing those boundaries.
Virtuals me.